It's that time of the week. Yes, this week's Cult Movie Show, your weekly look at cult movies. Please welcome your hosts, Warren and Velvet.
Yes, it is that time of the week again. It is time for the Cult Movie Show with myself, Warren, and of course, as always, in the virtual studio, it is Velvet Rose.
Hey, how's it going? So this is our Christmas special, and it's funny the way this came together, because originally we're like, okay, yeah, Christmas theme. So obviously we have some movies that are Christmas themed. But at the same time, I noticed when we were putting the movies together and we were trying to pick our third one, so I was like, well, we have one movie that has aliens, then we have another movie that has monsters, and then I was like, why not just complete the trifecta and have some fucking zombies? So that's how we ended up with our first film. We have a zombie film in the mix. That's actually not Christmas themed, but I was like, fuck it, let's get some zombies, because we already got all the other, creepy crawlies of the night in this in this review tonight. So
That's exactly right. Our first film isn't really all that Christmassy. Well, it's not actually Christmassy at all. But we're going to do it, and then after that, we will get into a bit more Christmas sort of cheer, I suppose. So, look, this is, of course, podcast 25, and now, have you been having a sort of a good festive season, Velvet? Have you been enjoying yourself?
Yes, unfortunately too much. I was putting on my pants today and I was like, damn, these motherfuckers are tight. So yeah, I've already hit that part of the season where it's like I'm already thinking about a new exercise regimen and diet to, make up for all the Christmas cheer that I've been enjoying via food.
Yes, it is a bit like that, isn't it? It's like once you get to, January 1st, you basically have to think about either going and shopping for all new clothes or actually maybe hitting the gym. Hey, it's once a year, so.
Thank God.
So, that's exactly right.
Every month, and then I'll just be like, fuck it. Yeah, I'm just going to be fat. Because
So look, it may be Christmas Eve where you're listening right now. It may be Christmas Day where you're listening. It really depends what part of the world you are in. Or, of course, you might be just listening to this several days later and it's about to be New Year's Eve. Who knows? Because it's a podcast. But it is our Christmas one, and so I suppose we should get started. And our very first film.
I have to say, I almost forgot. I totally almost forgot, Warren. Merry Christmas! It's already Christmas for you. For me, it's still Christmas Eve here in the United States, but in Australia, it's already Christmas. So Merry Christmas, and thank you for taking time out of your busy holiday to record the show with me.
Oh, no, thank you. It's always a pleasure, as you know. And yes, it is actually Christmas Day in Australia at the moment. Well, not just Australia, also New Zealand, and also most of Southeast Asia is into Christmas Day at the moment. So yes, of course, I am a time traveller. I am always about 8 hours ahead of you, aren't I? So now, if we could just figure out how I could actually get the horse racing results, we'd be millionaires.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah,
that would be cool, right? Totally.
But, and the other thing too is I must apologise for last podcast for sounding like I was sitting in the toilet for 2 hours. I had a few microphone issues is the best way to put it, and didn't realise until later. So I do apologise for that.
I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't notice at all.
Oh, it was appalling.
Like, that's how I thought I always sound. I always sound like I'm on the toilet, but I'm not. It's just, it's just technology. It's just the way it is.
I had sort of expected, sort of, Warren, are you finished yet? You're coming out, But no. Anyway, we should crack on with our first movie. And this is, an independent film. That is the best way to describe it. And it is Zombie Mania, and it is called The Plague, from this year, 2016. And, look, I'm not going to lie to anybody. It's done on a very tight budget. on a very, very tight budget. But you know what? I actually still kind of enjoyed this one. It's about a small town in somewhere in the United States.
This is actually a Love Canal. This is actual fact. So it's interesting that this movie is actually based on actual fact. Yeah, this is a true story. But I'll let you continue, and then I'll get into the background.
Okay. Well, see, not being American, I'm sort of not really familiar with that. So, but set in the town where, if everyone, all our American listeners will then, of course, know the background story. But for anyone who's not American, this town was used as an industrial waste dump. And then, of course, the town was eventually abandoned. I believe that's correct. Is that correct? Velvet?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
Oh, and the town was eventually abandoned after all
it was evacuated. It was demolished, cleaned up, but I'll let you,
yes,
I'll get into it in a moment.
But in our story, The Plague, what happens is that all the people from this town and towns past come back to us as the living dead in the form of zombies. And we have a number of different characters, different people in this movie who get caught up in the town while the zombie apocalypse starts. And it's really the story, as most zombie movies are, about their quest for survival and to actually escape the town and to slaughter as many zombies along the way as they can. And look, it's a bit of fun. It is a bit of fun. So can you fill us in on this full bat story?
So honestly, I think that's one of the saving graces of this movie is obviously this movie actually has a couple of messages, and the basis for this film is actually based in fact, which always is intriguing when you're watching a film about zombies. But Love Canal was actually a planned community in the Niagara Falls area of New York. And long story short, what happened was it was supposed to be a model community, supposed to be your stereotypical cookie cutter house neighborhood community. It never really got quite finished. And then what happened was a company called the Hooker Company. I'm not joking. That's what it's called. The Hooker Company actually purchased this land in this community. And instead of further developing the community, they thought it would be a great place to dump industrial waste. Yes, toxic waste. About 22,000 barrels of toxic waste into an unfinished canal in the area. So, of course, this had repercussions. It polluted the water. It contaminated people's homes. People got sick. A lot of people resulted in high red blood cells, which, basically is indicative of leukemia or types of cancer. So it was a really bad devastation, a case where a company just totally disregarded the inhabitants of an area and decided to use it as a giant dumpster for poisonous chemicals. So this is something a lot of people don't know about. I honestly didn't know about until I read up on it because I was kind of like, this actually sounds familiar. So
actually, wasn't there a movie made about that subject starring John Travolta?
I think so.
So that's the real story of. Oh, okay. Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, so, this stuff, unfortunately happens, and, profits over people's health, it all just total disregard. Yeah, terrible.
Next year it's probably going to happen even more. But anyway.
So people were actually, they actually did evacuate people. People were displaced from their homes, obviously, and it has since been cleaned up, as they say. And they call it's a Superfund site where they have to basically just do whatever they can to clean up the area, but it's still not a place that people really live in, obviously, obviously there's still going to be toxic shit there, so you can't really live there.
So is it a bit like Chernobyl in the Ukraine where you can actually visit, but you couldn't live there?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, but in this film, of course, it then goes to the next level where all of this pollution brings the living dead back. And, and we have a few different people who are in this town for interesting reasons, I suppose. And they get caught up in the middle of it. Now, we've got one couple who are assassins, hitmen. And they have to commit a murder in the town. We've got another couple who are brother and sister. Well, I shouldn't use that term couple, should I really? But who are brother and sister, and they're going on a run, getting ready for a marathon. I think they're meant to be sort of doing, although I think that casting wasn't quite all that switched on. But anyway. For the run. Did they really strike you as looking like runners? I mean...
Not at all.
No.
I'm not saying that to be mean, but evidently,
No.
yeah, this was I agree that the casting on this was not very tight. It was very distracting, honestly.
I think they could have maybe cast them as maybe, I don't know, they wanted to... Go for a walk.
It could have been urban exploration.
Yes,
exactly. They could have been going for a walk.
Yeah,
because at one point they also mentioned that they're preparing for a marathon, and
that just seemed a little bit unrealistic when you see the characters. Nothing against the actors or anything like that. I just think they should have changed the story a little bit to suit it a little bit better.
I agree.
We then have a person who I think is meant to be a mercenary, I think, who is meant to have been sent into the town to help basically kill off the zombie, clean it up. At least I think he's meant to be a mercenary. I don't really know.
I agree. Well, that's the weird thing is it was supposed to be they were supposed to send mercenaries, plural, in to clean up the area, but there's only one the entire movie.
Well, this was the thing. I couldn't quite grasp it because I sort of thought, is he meant to be sort of like part of the US military, sent in, or is he meant to be a mercenary? But the thing is that he's got to be a mercenary because he doesn't really have a uniform. He's wearing like jeans and a pair of boots from Timberland, and he's got he's got some army, surplus shirt on. I mean, he's got to have been a mercenary. He just doesn't. It was not the full military uniform. But evidently he was paid to go in and shoot some zombie. and then we've also got a, shall we just say, a very, very impassionate Christian who is also there as well, who needs to do God's work and clean up the heathen zombies and anybody else who is associated with the town. So we've got some interesting characters in there, I have to
and there's
admit.
also the assassin couple.
Yes, yeah.
So basically contract killers, hitmen. There's a man and a woman that are obviously they're a team and they kill together and they get paid to kill. And so, I mean, this could have been a really good story, to be honest, when you really look at it, because first off, the whole premise I thought was actually really cool. I was like, okay, first off, you're actually using a historical event that happened that a lot of people don't know about, which is pretty cool. I mean, anytime a company comes along and just totally disregards the health of the inhabitants of that area and just uses it as a toxic waste dump, that needs to be known. Like, people need to know that these things happen and that they need to be on the lookout for that. And also the actual characters in the movie, like I said, we got a mercenary, we got contract killers, we got a religious fanatic, we got a brother and sister, and the sister's kind of on the weird side, and then we have zombies. So, I mean, honestly, a little bit of re-scripting and tighter storytelling, better casting, this could actually be a good story. I mean, the whole premise is not that bad when you really look at it from that aspect.
The idea is actually really, really good. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't really get bored with it. Although I must admit, the first 15 minutes of this film, I still had no idea what was actually going on. Because it was just, all it really was conversations between our various different characters, introducing all the different characters, but we still have no idea this is actually a zombie film. No idea at all for the first 15 minutes. Oh, you still there, Velvet? Oh, yeah?
Can we pause for a moment? I'm having technical difficulties.
That's all right. We shall just pause and we shall be right back. Well, we're back. Yes, Velvet has sorted out her little technical difficulties. I've got no problem with that. I mean, I ran for 2 hours last week with a...
When you're broadcasting from the toilet, these things happen. So.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. the Tufnell, as it was once called. Oh no, that's another story. There was a radio show in Australia many years ago by these two comedians called HG and Roy, and one of their adverts was for a thing called a Tufnell, which was an actual toilet you could live in. It actually had You just hose.
That's a survivalist. That's thing. Right. I'll pass.
Yes. Yes. They used to advertise all sorts of things, King Wally Lewis's cheese and anyway. Oh, I'm getting so off there. Australians and New Zealanders.
We'll have to do a whole episode on that one day.
Oh, yes. Australians and New Zealanders will get that joke. Anyway, now, where were we? We were talking about how we had obviously a number of these sort of different characters, and
right.
So the now. What did you think about all the different characters? Obviously, we have the sort of the devout Christian, we have the hit couple, we have the marathon runners. Oh God, yeah, okay. And we have the mercenary. Did you what did you think of them all?
Well, I did like the variety of characters, and as I said, with a little tighter scripting and better casting, this actually could be quite a good story, because, there's definitely a lot of diversity there. One of my main complaints about the film is, first off, the pacing on this is very, I don't want to say slow, I guess inconsistent, because they spend a lot of time on character development. They want you to know, okay, this man and a woman, they're a couple, and they also kill people for money. These two people, they're brother and sister. This guy is a religious fanatic. The religious fanatic, his introduction went on way too long. Like, he starts off with rambling, scripture monologue, he's quoting stuff from the Bible, and it just went on way too long to establish that, okay, this guy is obviously unhinged and he's a fanatic and he thinks it's his job to clean up the world, and
yes.
Like, that just went on way too long. That needed to be shortened, because just listening to him yell and scream a Bible passage for that long, and then he's like sharpening bullets, and they're like showing that he's got weapons and that he's unhinged. He's somebody that you need to keep an eye on, but it just went way too long. And on the other hand, the pacing within 18 minutes after they pretty much introduced all the characters, all of a sudden you see zombies. Like, those just come out of nowhere. Just like all of a sudden, here's zombies eating guts. Like, yes. And I was like, oh, there's the zombies. They didn't waste any time. We get to see zombies. So this, as you've already mentioned, we've both mentioned, this is a low budget film. And what I like to remind people about this is it's hard to make a movie. It is a lot of work to make a movie. And the fact that Emira Scalonija, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. We'll plug your social media at the end. We will plug your social media at the end so people can watch the movie. The fact that Emer was able to put this entire movie together with what looks like pretty much almost no budget, that's a huge feat. That definitely needs to be commended, because organizing all the people, the locations, the makeup, getting people who can actually memorize script and act it out, even if we don't think they're the best actors on the planet. It's a huge undertaking to make a movie, and we take that for granted because we have so many multi-dollar budget films available at our fingertips now. We can watch a movie anytime we want, of any kind of quality, any kind of genre, and we take that for granted. And then you have somebody come along that makes an independent film independently. They don't have huge studio backing. They don't have the budget to hire makeup artists and special effects and script writers to clean up their script. All this stuff. They don't have the technology or the equipment to film the movie. This is a humongous undertaking. And the fact that this guy actually put a movie together that is feature length, it's an hour and 20 minutes, and that he has a lot of extras. There's a lot of zombies.
There's a lot. There's a ton of zombies in this.
A lot of zombies. And again, keep in mind, people, this is not a high budget film. So some of the zombies are just people with white face paint and black eye makeup and black lipstick. But you work with what you got when you're working on no budgets. Okay, we don't think it's the best story on the planet. We don't think it's the best acting on the planet. We don't think it's the best movie on the planet. But I will always support independent films like this, because it's an undertaking that requires so much dedication to complete a project. And from what I can tell, this wasn't actually a rushed project. I could tell he actually put a lot of thought into this, because like there are attempts in the script to have some interesting dialogue. He really did try to have really interesting characters. And the fact that he even tried to find an interesting piece of actual history to base this movie on, to give it some footing. I mean, come on now. That's not bad. That's
look, I agree. I mean, the other thing too is, I have seen, like Misty Monday, like Aaron Brown movies, which are seriously no better or no worse than this. And those movies are available for purchase on Amazon. I think in that sense, I've actually seen a hell of a lot worse. One thing I must point out is it does look to me, especially from the editing and everything, that it has been shot on a single camera. There doesn't look like there was more than one camera on set, but I agree. I'd be interested to find out about that. It reminds me a lot, actually, of what I could sort of remember, like I remember when I was at university, when I was at Royal Melbourne Institute, and I remember all the media students and stuff like that, they were putting out product which I would say would be very similar to this. So it does remind me a lot of sort of like, an early filmmaker's movie, like a university project or something. But, and a lot of them can be really good. And I must admit, once this started to get going, once we got through the first sort of 15, 20 minutes, I actually started to quite enjoy it. There's a lot of blood. A lot of the headshots and stuff in this are kind of cool. He does them actually really, really well. So, I sort of thought, yeah, no, that's pretty cool. And also what you said, Velvet, the fact that there is a real environmental message in this, like he didn't just make this the way it seems to me anyway, sort of like saying, let's just make a zombie film. Well, yeah, he did just make a zombie film, but he's got a real environmental message in this, about the fact that we just cannot endlessly keep poisoning and polluting the planet, otherwise it is going to come back to bite us in the ass. Now, that may not in reality be zombies, but of course, this is a movie, so it's got to be zombies. But I love the way that he does it. I love the way he wrote the American election into this as well. There's a bit of talk about that, about what the future will be. Like I know the sister and the brother have a conversation where the sister says to the brother, you need to take this seriously. This is your future. This is about where we live. You have to take it seriously. So there's that statement in there that, we've got to start looking after the planet better. And I like that, mind you, I'm just an old lefty at heart, but I like that, I really like that.
No, that's definitely one of the messages in this movie. I mean, it's definitely about, taking care of your environment, or you're going to, have to deal with the consequences of your actions. It's also another message of we're the actual monsters, because I don't want to give away any spoilers, because there are actually spoilers that could spoil the movie. But long story short, there's also a scene in the movie that shows that people are the monsters and not the zombies. Like the zombies are just a consequence of our actions. And, so not all the people die at the hands of zombies. They die at the hands of each other in this movie, too.
Well, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. And there is one scene in this which I absolutely did love. I thought it was actually really, really well done. And that is that when our hit sort of couple and our brother and sister run into the sort of devout sort of religious person, and let's just say the weapon they choose to send after this guy is brilliantly thought out.
I did like that. I did like that.
Once again, I don't want to give it away, but I think people, if they use their imagination, can sort of think like, they don't use a knife, they don't use a gun, but there's lots of other things around. So what do you reckon they could use? It was really clever, and I really liked that. So I thought that was well thought out, actually. I thought that was a really clever little bit of the movie. But in saying that, I do have to say to people, this is cheap, okay? This really is cheap. But, if you like those sorts of movies, where people are just starting out, because, I mean, look, I've seen Steven Spielberg's very first movie that he made as a teenager. right? We've all got to actually, we basically just got all these teenage friends together, with a Super 8 camera, and they just filmed, so everybody has got to start somewhere. And I reckon this is not a bad attempt. I really think this is not a bad attempt. I liked it, actually, to be truthful. Once you got through that first 20 minutes, I liked it.
Yeah, no, I thought this was a really good effort, too. And like I said, I do like that he has a lot of messages to go with this. And also I wanted to mention, he also shouts out after the end credits, he also mentions the Dakota Access Pipeline, which is currently a protest that's going on, where they're basically trying to set up long-ass crude oil pipeline. It's over 1,100 miles long. It's supposed to carry almost 500,000 barrels of crude oil a day to wildlife habitats, all the way over in, I believe, the Chicago area. So, yeah, it's going to be huge. But the problem is it's going to disrupt and go through a lot of Native American lands to do this. And he even mentions this. He even protests this at the end. He uses the hashtag NODAPL, which is the No on Dakota Access Pipeline. So I mean, he's definitely trying to use his medium to also spread a message, which is always commendable. It's not just for entertainment. He wants you to get something out of this movie.
No, I think that's good. And what better way to do it than with zombies? I mean, it is good because right now we are living, as a species, at crisis point, where we are destroying our environment around us at a point where pretty soon it's going to be too late to fix the problem. And so, it is great that people like this are making these movies, but they're still making them fun so people can watch them. But then you're still getting that message that, shit, it's time to stand up. And there's nothing wrong with, getting on that barricade with a sign and saying, stop, enough is enough, So it's great. I really like this, I mean, the thing is that, it takes a while to get going, and it's only shot on one camera. And even though they're meant to be in the middle of nowhere, you can still see cars driving down the road in the background. I swear I saw some people walking around in the background as well.
Well, my thing I noticed on the sound mix, they need to work on the sound mix, because there were times I could hear people in the background talking, just like if you were at like a regular park and just like the random people that are visiting the park and are talking, you could hear them in the background when they're supposed to be there alone.
Yes.
So I was kind of like, just little things that you need to clean up whenever you're making a movie. Again, the casting, you work with what you've got, but I did like the chemistry between the two actors that played the brother and the sister. I actually thought they were quite good. And actually the sister in this movie is the real life sister of the actual director and writer of the film. Well, that's actually his sister, I believe.
Well, that's interesting. She was
maybe it's a cousin, but I'm pretty sure it's a sister.
Well, she was actually one of my favorite ones in the movie, to be honest.
Her character was good.
I thought she was the most believable, yes. In that way. I mean, one thing I have to admit, though, the brother, when they meet the mercenary, and then the mercenary, asks him to do something. And it's like, well, I'll give it away. I don't think it's going to make any difference. The mercenary sort of says, he's been bitten by a zombie, right? So basically, he sort of says, kill me, shoot me. But what's interesting is the brother seems to have a guy who's had no experience with weaponry, hasn't gone to war or anything like this, seems to have no qualms in just killing this guy. It's like, oh yeah, whatever, okay.
His sister's egging him on, though. Come on, go ahead, shoot him. You should just do what he says.
And I have to admit, his sister suddenly does become one of the greatest knife fighters in the world. This brother and sister with absolutely no history in combat or anything like that, turn themselves into these sort of super soldiers. But it's all fun. It is all fun. And, no. Look, I mean, as I said, I liked it. I mean, if we're going to give this an Eric rating score, Velvet, okay, where do you reckon, we're going to put it?
Okay. I can't give this movie a high rating because it's simply not up to standards with what we're used to. But for what it is, I'm going to rate it somewhat decently high. But I want to give it some bonus points that help push it up to this rating. So first off, it gets bonus points for blood splatter on the camera lens. I love that.
Yes.
I love when movies do that. I wish they would do that more often because surprisingly, when you do blood splatter and you allow it to actually hit the camera lens, instead of breaking the fourth wall and reminding people that there's a camera there and that you're actually watching a movie, I always find that it actually adds to the brutality of the scene. I really love it when they do that movie, when water gets on the lens, when sweat gets on the lens, when blood gets on the lens. I love it when they do that. So bonus points for that. Also, there's a bonus points for an effective use of maggots. Ugh. There was a scene. I don't want to know what the maggots were on, but there was some real maggots in this movie, and I'm just like, whoa. And that just added to the creep factor. So I'm like, okay, good use of maggots, because, on average, you're not really just able to find maggots just, lying around. You kind of have to make it happen nowadays. And I was just like, okay, bonus points again for the headshots. I really did like the way they did the headshots in this, because a lot of times you would see somebody get shot in the head, and then they would show the back of the person's head, and you would see the blood and some, stuff exit. And I was like, oh, wow, they actually, that's some nice detail for this budget, for them to actually do some nice headshots in a zombie film. That's good. And then, of course, bonus points for the whole ecological, environmental message. So we got some bonus points here to help push the rating up. So all in all, I'm going to give this, on our Eric Roberts scale of a possible 5 Eric Roberts, I'm going to give it 2.5 Erics out of a possible 5 Eric Roberts.
Well, that's just a passing grade. And look, I'm actually going to be pretty much the same. I'm actually going to give it 2.5 Erics as well. And one of the reasons is, I recently saw the remake of Attack of the Giant Leeches, and which I was looking forward to so much because I remember the original 1950s movie. And I must admit, the remake was honestly no better or worse than this movie we're talking about right now. So, and I absolutely loved that, and I recommended it to a lot of people. So, I think because of that, this has got to actually get a passing grade. And yeah, it's got faults. Like I said, we can see cars driving down the highway in the background, for what is meant to be a ghost town. Yes, the acting isn't fantastic. The casting, well, I don't really have a problem with the casting. Maybe they should have rewritten the casting a little bit to change the background of some of the characters a little bit more. But the blood's really good. The special effects are pretty good for a zero budget, I've got to admit. The single camera can make it a little bit awkward from time to time. But I'm still going to give it a passing grade because you know what? If I tried to do this, I would not be able to do it as well as he's done it. So
exactly.
And I hate this idea where people come around and they sort of say, it's like, like a Jason Pollock painting. They sort of say, oh God, anyone can do that. No, you can't. No, you can't,
Nope.
And, and that's the thing, the fact that he was able to pull this off. No, I've got great respect, and I really wish him all the best in the future. I'm really hoping that he keeps producing stuff.
I do too. And he actually has quite a lot of stuff actually available on DVD and for download and stuff. So this isn't his first film. He does have other films, actually. So this guy's an active filmmaker. So this is Emir Scalonja, and I know for the majority of us, we're going to have trouble with spelling that name. So I'm going to plug some of the other social media that you'll be able to find him on. So you can check out the production company that carries this film. You can go to facebook.com and Foxtrot Productions, kind of like the fox trotting around. So we got Foxtrot Prod, facebook.com/Foxtrot Prod.
Thank God, I thought you said something else then. That's all right.
You can tell me off air. And then you can, if you want to watch the actual movie, it's available for video on demand. Come on, people, support independent film, video on demand. You can watch The Plague. You can watch it online at Vimeo on demand. And this is also available from Legless Corpse Films. Legless Corpse Films also is the the distributor for this. So go ahead and check that out. So thank you very much, Emir Scalonja, for allowing us to watch your film and review it and spread the word. And we look forward to seeing what you do next.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm giving you thumbs up. Thumbs up, mate.
Definitely. Yeah,
most definitely. Thumbs up, mate. I actually really thought it was for all the jokes we make and all the rest of it, I thought it was a job well done.
Yeah, because it's a lot of work. Because, again,
Absolutely.
this is why movies cost millions to make, organizing all the people, the special effects, having a story that people actually want to watch and care about for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I mean, this is a lot of work. So for, one guy to pull this all together, and I was surprised how many zombies were in it, really. Seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Well done.
And,
Well done.
and I must admit, too, some of them were some pretty hot-looking zombies, too. There was there were a couple of people in there where I sort of went, whoo, I don't care. I don't care if you're the living dead. You're looking all right.
Yuck.
Oh, dearie me. All right. On that note, we'll take a quick break and we will be right back.
It's time to get excited, short film fans. It's mini movie review time.
Yes, it is that time of the week, mini movie review time. And you have found another beautiful little piece of short cinema for us this week, Velvet.
Thank you. Yeah, this one's really surprising, isn't it? So this one is called BLT. And this is actually a film from 3 years ago. But they're friends with us on Twitter, and I always like to support our little online friends. So I shouldn't say little. This one's actually pretty awesome. So I believe this had a budget of about £5,000. So filmed in the United Kingdom, has £5,000. I believe the actors have Scottish accents. Am I right on my accents there, Warren? Does that sound about right?
Well, I'm Australian, so I'm not the best judge of it. But shall I say, to me it sounded as if one of them had a Scottish accent and the other had an English accent.
Got it. Okay. I wasn't 100% sure. I'm not 100% on the accents either. But in other words, if you're American and you listen to this, you're going to find the way they speak very musical. So from that point alone, it's fun to listen to. But anyways, so this short film is called BLT. And I'll link you to their social media at the end. You can watch this for free on their Twitter page, or you can click the link and go to Vimeo. It is a 10-minute short, and it's won several awards. And like I said, this was originally released back in 2013, but film is timeless, so I'm not always going to review films that just came out this year or last year. Sometimes I'm going to be a little bit older. BLT, I have to say this is funny. Okay, so I literally had what we call over here a BLT in the United States, a bacon, lettuce, tomato sandwich. And a few hours later, I watched this short, and I was just like, okay, that is hilarious. Because honestly, the name of the short BLT, I did not think this would be about a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. I honestly was like, okay, it's got to stand for something else. It's obviously just a coincidence. Actually, I don't believe in coincidences. But anyways, evidently this film was drawn to me because I was eating a BLT sandwich. But no, all joking aside, the BLT does have an important part to play in this short. So when you look at the short, the social media for this is very exciting. It looks like it's going to be just like this action-packed thriller packed into like 10 minutes. So you start watching it, and honestly, that's what I was expecting, because, they slowly reveal the main characters, the very high production value. It's really nice to watch just the shots of the city, the environment. They show this guy in a business suit, and you're kind of like, your mind's already reeling. You're kind of like, oh, what's this guy? Is he a hitman? Is he just an asshole? Like, you just think there's something off about the guy. But then it turns out the guy's actually a pretty nice guy. But then there's this long-haired thug in an alley, and you're thinking, oh, what's this guy? Okay, this is going to be the bad guy. Now, this is just a guy that's down on his luck with the, most smooth Scottish accent you've ever heard. So then, right when you think the movie is ending, you're kind of like, huh. All of a sudden it hits you and you're like, oh, okay. And then you think you're done. And then one more thing happens. You're like, oh, wow. Okay. And literally when this ended, I was laughing. I did not expect this to be funny, but and it was funny for all the wrong reasons. It's like, you shouldn't laugh, but you do. So that's how I felt about this. What do you think about this?
That's interesting. I wouldn't have actually have said I came out of it laughing.
I did.
To be
I was
honest,
laughing. I was laughing.
It's but I did like the point it had to portray. In the sense that it really doesn't matter where you've come from, where you are, or it's everything can sort of just end exactly the same for whoever you are. So no, look, I really liked it. The other thing too, I have to admit, is that I thought the characters were great. The acting was good. Mm-hmm. The writing is really good. The cinematography is fantastic. It is really well shot. I really can't find fault with it at all, to be truthful. And I love, the idea that, you think that maybe we've got two bad people, but we don't. We've actually got two really good people, but maybe the world isn't going to treat them as well, because, yes, our sort of business person, he's a bit arrogant and stuff like that, but he's not nasty. I wouldn't say he's a bad man. The other thing too is that our homeless person is, once again, he's a good person, but he's got his faults as well. He could actually be doing a bit better than he is, So, both of them have got their flaws, but they're also good people. It's maybe the world around them which isn't good. That they, I really, really liked it. And it's the ending of this movie, which is, it's the last, 60 seconds of this movie that makes it, and unfortunately, we just can't tell you what that is because it will just destroy the whole thing. But no, definitely. For short film fans, this is a good one. I really like this. It's really was enjoyable. I liked it. I really did like it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole double twist and literally the last 60 seconds, that's hard to pull off, and they pull it off super smooth, and it's totally unpredictable. You don't see it coming at all. And then this is actually one where you can rewatch and now you see it differently because
Yes.
And that adds a whole different layer of enjoyment to it. So I was laughing when I very first finished watching this, not because it was funny, but it was because I was surprised, oh my God, I didn't see that coming at all. And then the next twist, I'm oh, no way. I was laughing like that kind of laughing, not oh, this is so funny, it'll have you in stitches. No, unless you're a sick motherfucker like I am, you're not going to be laughing like that. But if you just the surprise of it all, I was oh, I enjoyed it.
Oh, look, thoroughly,
yeah.
Look, right. I recommend this to anyone. This is a good little one. Definitely check this one out without any doubt. Yeah. Oh,
and I have to admit, this won several awards, and internationally. It won in Florida, it won in North Hollywood, it won in, give me a second, it won in South Australia, the Barossa Film Festival 2013. This one, yeah. Oh, there you go. Thank you.
It's called Barossa, yeah.
Thank you. There we go, Barossa. Hey, my Australian's a little rusty. And then also even in Italy. So I mean, this, and I knew this had to be something special, but I have to admit, when I'm first watching it, I'm okay, I'm enjoying this, but how on earth did this win so many awards? It's that last 60 seconds when they double twist on you and you're oh shit, okay. All right, well done. Well played, sir. Well played.
Oh, yeah. But I must admit, though, it is also shot beautifully.
Yes.
It really is shot beautifully. The cinematography in this, just for those 10 minutes is really good. It is, it is really, really good. So,
and the actors are excellent. They are really good.
Oh,
really believable.
Oh, yeah.
Really believable. Excellent delivery, good timing. Yeah, they're just, very believable, very well done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely. No, it's a thumbs up from me, without any doubt.
Oh, definitely.
It's a thumbs up from me.
Definitely.
No.
Definitely here too. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, that was a good one. Yeah. And remember too, we're going to, every week, this is a permanent spot, for short films. So if you've got a suggestion for a short film, or if you have made a short film, let us know. Because
tweet us, email us, private message us on Twitter, and we'd love to add you to the review list and get, spread the word on your art.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. Well, I think it really is time that we should really start talking about a couple of
hold on. I got to tell people
movies.
where they can watch.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, my God. Yes, the shout-outs defeats the whole purpose.
You guys are not allowed to watch this movie. It's that good. We're keeping it all for ourselves. So, now, all joking aside, go ahead and follow them on Twitter, twitter.com, BLT, like the sandwich, BLT Short Film, twitter.com, BLT Short Film. Tell them Cult Movie Show sent you. So there you can follow them on Twitter. Tell them what a cool short it is. You'll be able to click the link in their bio. It'll take you to the Vimeo video where you can watch the short. And so if you don't have time to watch all these movies that we talk about all the time, at least take the time to watch the mini movies that we review for you. Anytime we suggest a mini movie, it's going to be worth your time. And this one is no different. So definitely check it out. BLT Short Film on Twitter.
Oh,
all right,
yes.
Now we can move on to Christmas.
Now we can move on. All right. So, so we will be just back in a moment because, yes, it's time for a couple of some Christmas movies, and we've got two lined up here which we think are pretty special. So, yes.
It's that time.
Oh, no, it's not that time. I just played the wrong promo again. Oh, my goodness. Bit too much Christmas cheer actually going on here at the moment. Let's try that again, and we will be right back with a movie number 2. Now, movie number 2, and it's a Christmas highlight for me, I suppose. I remember seeing this many, many years ago. Actually, it was played on TV on Christmas Day, and a few of us sort of said, oh my God, there's this movie called Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. We have got to watch this. And we all did, and we had the most wonderful time. It is from 1964, and how do we explain this movie? Well, a lot of people view it as a kids' movie, but it wasn't actually produced as a kids' movie. It was actually produced as a bit of a comedy horror, I suppose. It's just that it was in 1964, so it's not really very scary, and you really could show it to young children these days, and I think they'd actually probably quite enjoy it. Our story basically starts on Mars, and the Martians they find that their children are very unhappy. They're not sleeping properly. They're not eating properly. So they go and, the leader of the Martians gathers his, parliament or whatever they're meant to be, and they go and visit the old 900-year-old wise man who tells them the reason is because Mars doesn't have Christmas. There is no Santa Claus on Mars. So they decide that they're going to travel to Earth in their spaceship and kidnap Santa Claus and bring him back to Mars to give the Martian children Christmas. Well, while all this happens, they end up kidnapping a couple of children who show them where the North Pole is so they can actually find Santa. They have a robot, which we will talk about soon, which turns into a giant toy because Santa's magic stops it but from being so angry. We then have a Martian politician who wants to stop Santa because he doesn't want Christmas to be on Mars. Oh my God! It's what could we really say about this film? I mean, this movie has actually been listed continually as one of the 100th worst movies ever made, and I think that's probably pretty accurate. What are your thoughts?
Wow. First off, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought this movie was a lot of fun. And honestly, I am surprised that people rate this movie so harshly. I'm like, really? I'm like, okay, if you go to IMDb, they're giving it a 2.5 stars out of 10. I'm like, come on, it's not that bad. I was like, if I actually enjoy a movie, it's not bad. I mean, come on. But no, I love the whole concept. One of the things I really like about this movie is that this movie accepts Santa Claus as fact. Like, they actually have the news, like the actual like media news crews, like visiting the North Pole and checking in on Santa. And Mrs. Claus is all starstruck and excited because she's on TV. Oh, I'm on TV. And then the whole thing of when the Martians actually do kidnap Santa Claus, that's international news. It's like, oh, Santa Claus has been kidnapped by the Martians, and like this is reported in the news. I thought that was really cute touch that they're saying Santa Claus is real, and we know he's alive, and they're concerned about his well-being.
It's absolutely hilarious in that sense. I mean, the Earth is so horrified by all of this. They actually NASA put together, or don't think NASA, I think, put together a special space team to send a rocket to Mars to actually recapture Santa. Although we never actually see it. They just say they're going to do it.
Unfortunately, we don't get to see it. No, we don't get to see it.
And then we get to see lots of stock footage of the US military with B-52s flying around and missiles being launched and all sorts of things. Yes, because Santa has been kidnapped. This is an act of war. But Santa doesn't really see it quite the same way, because Santa wants to bring joy to all children. So he's actually quite happy to help, the Martians to sort of build a Christmas. It's just that he's not very happy about the fact that he's never allowed to go back to Earth again.
Right.
But of course, that will change as the movie goes on, as the Christmas spirit is sort of spread more and more and more across Mars. And then, of course, the Martians find out that maybe they've got their own alternative to Santa that they can, start, and the children will be happy. But one thing that, this movie has been talked about so much is the special effects. Some of the worst you will ever see in your life. When they're in the spaceship, and this is going to be talked about, the radar controls is actually just like a laundry basket, just with a lid on the top, right? Out the window of the spaceship, you can see all these planets, okay? But they're just balls hanging from string.
Oh, my God.
Also, when they fire all the rockets and stuff like that, it's actually just somebody pressing the button on a fire extinguisher, and you can actually hear it. It is also the Martians themselves are just people who wearing these green lycra like leotards. With helmets on their heads, but the helmets are actually they're like a motorcycle helmet, right? An open-face motorcycle helmet. But what they actually did is they're wearing them backwards. I don't know if you noticed that, Velvet. They're actually wearing them backwards. And they've got capes and all this sort of stuff.
Oh, man.
And I've got to admit, for some of the cast, the lycra didn't exactly...
Oh, my God. I was thinking about that.
Yeah.
That was disturbing, to be honest, because, nowadays the proportions of at least the average Americans rather hardy. We're pretty well filled out. And there's these people are wearing skin tight, green spandex. And there's one scene where one dude is so skinny that the spandex is loose on him. Yes. And I'm just like, oh, yuck. But then, of course, towards the end, you have the guy that's way too big to be wearing spandex.
Yes, I know.
And there's a couple of people that you're just like, oh, God, why spandex or lycra or whatever skin tight fitting fabric that is? Why did you guys choose that?
I know the costumes are just absolutely amazing, and there is one character in this who decides that he would really like to be Mars's Santa Claus, and anyway, so the evil Martian politicians try to kidnap Santa a second time to hold him for ransom, and but they kidnap a Martian dressed up as Santa, and the whole idea, right? So this Martian has got the beard and he's wearing like the red jacket and stuff, but he's still got his helmet on with his antennas and his green, right? But they don't know the difference. They think,
I thought I justified that as they see Martians all the time, so everybody looks like a normal person to them. So it would be enough for him to just have on an outfit that's red and white and have the hat on for them to perceive him as Santa, as opposed to, oh, that's one of our people dressed as Santa. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's so much conformity within their society that if one person is just a little bit different, that would probably be enough to like skew their perception. So that's the way I justified that. I'm like, okay, that's why they think that guy's Santa. Because nobody else on that planet is fucking dressed like that at all. But I did like the music in this movie. That fucking theme song. I actually got my friends over at Underground Saturday Night, my other podcast. I actually got them to download the song, and we're going to play that tonight on the show.
Oh, fantastic! Oh,
so hooray
fantastic!
For Santa Claus is that should be in everybody's holiday playlist. If you like Christmas music, go ahead and pick up "Hooray for Santa Claus," because they don't say Santa Claus, they say Santy.
I know
Claus.
It's Santy Claus for some reason. I know, but what's with that?
It's just a nickname. People don't really say it anymore, but that was a really common nickname for Santa Claus back in the day. It was more of a thing that kids said. And I was like, oh, that's cute. I love this. This is like the best Christmas song ever that I've never heard somehow. So even if you don't like the movie, you want to at least listen to the intro and watch the credits, because at the credits, they play the song again and with the lyrics on the screen so you can sing along.
Yes, I know. It's got its inbuilt karaoke, so you can sing along with the theme song.
That was great. And the Santa Claus in this, did you like the Santa Claus? That was a very authentic looking Santa Claus. That was played
good.
by John Call. And best Santa Claus ever.
He was a good Santa, I have to admit.
Yeah, definitely.
And but the other thing too is that this was the very first time that Mrs. Claus ever appeared in a Christmas movie.
Huh. Isn't that crazy?
So there's a little bit of historic sort of trivia for you. Before 1964, all Christmas movies, there had never been a Mrs. Claus. Or if there had been a Mrs. Claus, you definitely never actually got to... Oh, my phone is ringing. Can you put... Oh, this is just the podcast of technical difficulties, isn't it? God,
Okay. Sorry.
Anyway, oh goodness gracious, I'm going to have Samaritans knocking at the door next. Okay. I shouldn't say that's Christmas. They probably will actually.
My God.
So this was actually the very first time. Oh, and it's also, I'll tell you what, it's hot here. Oh, it's going to be 40 degrees Celsius in Melbourne.
Holy cow! My God.
So I've got the air conditioning turned off at the moment because obviously I don't want the noise and everything like that, because we've got enough technical difficulties going on with this show.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm sitting in a sweat box right now, but so it was the first time that Mrs. Claus was ever actually seen. Now, Mrs. Claus may have been mentioned before, but had never... Oh, my goodness. Are you serious? Oh, this is just ridiculous. Now, God almighty.
For Christmas, we want a glitch-free podcast. That's what Lauren and I want for Christmas.
Oh my goodness! My kingdom for a proper editing machine.
My goodness!
Oh goodness gracious. Anyway, so but the other thing too that is quite famous about this was the very first movie to star Pia Zadora. Now, if you are a person of my generation, you will of course have had a love affair with the great Pia Zadora. She was, so popular through the, through the late 80s and 90s. Pia Zadora, everybody just was in love with Pia Zadora. So this is the first movie that she ever appeared in. But of course, this is the 1960s, so she's only 8 years old in this. But it's interesting. You have it and you think, that's Pia Zadora, all right.
So she was the little girl Martian. The little girl Martian.
She's the little girl. Zadora. Yeah, it's Pia Zadora. And but some of the other things too. I mean, like for instance, when they locked them in the prison on the ship, to see the size of the key. It's like they're meant to be on a spaceship, but this key is like from a medieval castle. But not only that, it's cut out of cardboard. Right, it's a cardboard key. God. There are so many things that are just so hilarious about this. I mean, this is a movie that you just have so much fun. You just can't take it seriously, and the special effects are so bad and so appalling.
Oh my God, I love the polar bear. There's a scene where the kids are, we're hiding from a polar bear on the North Pole, and it's obviously a guy in a suit with a mask, and that just. The polar bear, and then the fucking robot. Oh my God!
Oh, the robot
like goes to capture the kids. When he picks up the kids, you see the little boy laughing.
I know. Now we should explain what the robot is. Now the robot is the best way to describe this. This is the way, let's say at Christmas time or some sort of holiday or fun event, a parent would make a robot costume for their kids if they only had about 30 minutes, an old box, a rubbish bin, and a tin of silver paint. Because it is quite literally a guy wearing a cardboard box with some dials stuck on it and a waste paper bin on his head. It is probably, I think, the worst robot ever seen in any movie. Would that be fair?
Probably. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's definitely a Halloween budget robot.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
It is.
I loved how you kept seeing like people cracking up during the movie. I love it when you see that in movies. And there's the scene towards the end where, the evil, what's his name? Voldar. Voldar's the bad Martian.
Yes.
He's kind of like the Scrooge of planet Mars. He does not want Christmas to happen. He wants Santa Claus to get the fuck out of there. And Santa like arranges for all the kids, the Martian kids and the human kids to, fight Voldar by throwing toys at him, and you see the kids laughing.
Oh, they're having so much fun.
You see Voldar cracking up while he's getting pelted with like toys by the kids, and I just thought it was so funny. I thought that was really cute.
Oh,
but,
that
I don't
was
know why
an hilarious
people give this movie such a harsh rating. I'm like, come on, take it for what it is. It's a cute movie about Christmas, and Santa Claus is going to bring joy not just to our world but to other worlds as well. And I thought it was so cute. I really enjoyed this.
Well, the really fun thing about this movie is that a lot of people obviously count it as being one of the worst movies ever made, but a lot of other people absolutely adore it. And this, so far, has actually been turned into a stage production 3 times.
Really?
Yep, this has... Santa Claus Conquers the Martians has actually been in the theatre 3 times. And the very last time was only quite recently, not recently, probably about 15 years or so ago. And Pia Zadora was actually invited and went to opening night.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that.
It was, it is, look, I just think it's really fun. I mean, as we said, this movie wasn't actually designed as a kids movie. It was meant to be a sort of a stupid sort of sci-fi comedy, but it really is now, I reckon, a kids movie. I mean, I reckon you could set 5-year-old kids to watch it.
Yeah,
you know?
but I guess by today's standards, you could get away with it. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, we got fucking Voldar, the evil Martian, here, basically talking about he basically wants to kill Santa.
He does. He does try to kill Santa a couple of times.
I'm like, my God. But I mean, yeah, there's so much fun stuff in this. I mean, like the stuff that cracked me up, like obviously was the fake mustache, Voldar's fake mustache. That shit was just cracking me up. I was just waiting for that to fall off his face when he was talking. You just could see it moving around. And then like the fucking face paint, like sometimes the aliens had green face paint and sometimes they didn't, and sometimes they did, and sometimes they didn't. Like the face paint kept coming and disappearing, and it just, was cracking
you did
me
see
up.
it was wearing off, or they were sweating through it,
yes,
you know, and it wasn't being reapplied or anything like that. So sometimes it would just be missing in big chunks.
And there was a Slinky reference, that little metal spring that walks downstairs. And I was like, is this supposed to be product placement? And now I want a Slinky. I was like, it worked because I haven't had one in a while. So now I'm like thinking about, I should get the little Slinky and then the big Slinky and then that huge Slinky and then there's the rainbow Slinky. So like I'm already like planning a whole Slinky collection now from this movie. It just like revived my nostalgia.
That's marketing. That's marketing, but it's but some of the other things too. I mean, like for instance, I just love it. Like on the spaceship, when they walk through the doors in the spaceship, they're actually like what they've actually just done is refitted somebody's house, and so the doors are actually just wooden doors, like plywood doors you find inside a house with a knob on it. You just turn the knob, you know. It's just brilliant. And the other thing too is, did you notice how everything about Martian life was so similar to American life? Like for instance, guess what the national sport of Mars is? It's baseball. Guess what the favorite food of Martian kids is? It's hamburgers and hot dogs.
So I did like the whole concept of all food in Martian reality is in pill form, and I was kind of like, oh, that's why everybody except for that one Martian is so skinny.
Yes,
I was like, everybody just swallows pills instead of eating. It's like, here, you want chocolate layer cake? Here you go. Here's a pill. Oh, you want a hamburger? Here's a pill. Oh, you want some chocolate milk? Here's a pill.
I know. And but the other thing too about the Martians is that they never seem to actually get changed. They only ever wear the one outfit, and even when the kids go to sleep, they still sleep in the same outfit, and then they get up and it was you know, I think
those Martians are stank.
Would have been a bit woofy, I reckon, on Mars, you know.
Yuck.
There's just so much to love about this, about just the craziness, the stupidity, the cheapness. I mean, this movie is so cheap, and it is just so much fun. I love it. I just absolutely love it. You know, I really do.
I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Like I said, just the music, just the overall holiday spirit. I really liked the guy that played Santa Claus, John Call. He was such a good Santa. And also just Santa's overall demeanor this entire film. Not like, he was never concerned about, I have to go home and deliver the presents for all the kids on Earth. Like, he was so happy to help the Martians, even when they were keeping him prisoner. And I guess he just kind of knew things would work out. And I just loved how he was just so calm about the whole situation. He was kind of bummed out that he didn't have all his elves to help him make toys, that, like, you know, the Martians had automated everything and turned, you know, made machines and stuff for him. So he was kind of pushing a button all day. But even then he was like, still staying upbeat about it, and like, I'm going to go rest my finger now. And
yeah, that's right, his fingers, because he's just sitting at a computer panel, so he's just pushing his finger, using his finger all the time. But it's it is really fun, and I admit too, that idea that, you know, Santa is so magical that you just know it's all going to work out in the end. But But do you actually suspect, Velvet, though, that although it's said that this is actually a sort of a comedy science fiction, that this really was, in a sense, actually made for very young teenagers?
You know, yeah, honestly, seeing it from this way, if I weren't looking at it at an analytical side at all, I would automatically assume this was a movie for kids. But looking back at when it was actually made, this was not a movie that was made for kids. Yes, it has kids in it. Yes, it has Santa in it. But there's themes of abduction. There's themes of, basically war, because declarations of war. Hey, you stole our Santa. We're going to launch rockets and missiles. And then also the whole murder aspect, that this one Martian literally wants to kill Santa. He doesn't want to send Santa back to the North Pole. He wants to get rid of Santa permanently. So, I mean, these are not children themes. This was definitely made for a slightly more adult audience. Obviously, it wasn't made for like highly intellectual people, I don't think. But this was, I don't think this was meant to be for kids at all when it was originally made.
Yeah, it's interesting if you see some of the original advertising for this movie. It does actually talk about the fact that it's been played as a matinee movie. Which I thought was interesting, but it's look. No. But I loved it. I really recommend it to anyone. I would say yes. If you have never seen it, I bet there is a good chance you've heard of it. It was, this was also done, what was it, the Mystery Science Theatre? I think.
Yeah, they redid it in 1988. They made fun of this film in 1988, so that had a resurgence in popularity for people that never heard of this film. And I actually want to go watch that later because I would love to see how they rip on this. It must be quite entertaining.
Oh yes, definitely, definitely. So, all right. So, if we've got to rate this one in Eric's, I've got no idea what I'm actually going to do here. So you go first. You go first, Phil.
I actually had a lot of fun with this, and in the holiday spirit, I think I'll give it 4 Martians out of a possible 5 Eric Roberts.
Okay. Well, look, I just think, if you were going to rate this as some sort of serious attempt at movie making, then it gets 0, right? It gets absolute 0. But because of what it is and the fact that this movie is so ludicrous, so funny, it's from 1964 with such bad special effects, such bad acting, such bad writing. It's got to be worth a 5 out of 5 Eric Roberts points. It's got to be worth a 5 out of 5. Because it is one of those movies you have got to see before you die. It is just, you've just got to,
I can't believe you said 0. That killed me.
Oh. No, but this is definitely, if you want to talk about a cult movie classic, this is one. This is definitely one. So,
totally.
You have to see this. This is a movie you've got to see. Because someone will bring this up at a dinner party somewhere, and you've got to be able to say, yeah, I've seen Santa Conquers the Martians. Oh, dearie me. So, that's a pretty good score, I reckon.
I can't believe you said 0. I'm still dying.
Oh, dear. All right. Well, I'll let Velvet slowly recover, and we will, take a quick break, and then we'll be back with Christmas movie number. Yeah,
2. Christmas
movie number 2, our 3rd movie. I'm talking over the promo. Who cares? Everything else has gone wrong this podcast. What does it matter? It's Christmas, guys. It's Christmas.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh no.
Well, we've all recovered. Well, kind of. Anyway. There's a lot of Christmas cheer flowing, I have to admit. There is a lot. And I hope everyone listening is having some Christmas cheer as well, whatever that cheer may happen to be. Usually comes in a bottle form, but doesn't have to, but anyway, so it is time for movie number 3, and this is a great Christmas movie, and not maybe one for the kids though. I have to admit,
no, definitely not.
No. I think you'd be pretty safe if you let your kids watch Santa Conquers the Martians, but not this one, and it is a Christmas Horror Story from 2015. And there's a lot to get through in this movie. This has got so many stories all running simultaneously. And it is absolutely fantastic. It's shot really well. It's got some really funny bits in it, but my God, it's got some really scary bits in it as well. I normally don't jump in a movie, that jump, but this movie, for the first time, I reckon in about 6 months, actually really made me jump out of my seat. So if it did that to me, then it's got some really spooky bits in it. How do we describe this, Velvet? It's
So this is a horror anthology movie, but it doesn't have the standard horror anthology format. So that's one of the things I liked about this movie is you go in, and I thought it was going to be story, done. And all the stories, like you said, are going on at the same time. So honestly, the first time I watched this movie, 'cause I ended up watching it like twice. The first time I watched this movie, I was like, the first half hour, I'm going, okay, I thought this was an anthology. What is going on? And finally, about half an hour in, I realized, all the stories are happening at the same time.
Yes.
So I love the way they did this.
I must admit, I was thinking that all the stories would somehow interlink with each other, but they don't. They actually run quite separately. And what have we got? We basically have a ghost story. We have I've forgotten what the creature is called. That takes over,
a changeling.
A changeling. And so if anyone doesn't know what a changeling is, it's a creature that lives in the forest, that basically takes on the appearance of a young child so it can enter into a human family to experience emotions, whether that be love, but also hate, violence, and every other emotion that there is. We've also got the, I was almost going to call it Kransky.
It pretty much is. You can say the evil spirit of Christmas.
The evil spirit of Christmas, which is, of course, Velvet, the
Krampus.
Krampus. That's right, not the Kransky, as I keep saying all the time. I kept saying, I was talking to someone the other night about this, and I kept saying, and the Kransky in this. No, it's not a Kransky. It's a Krampus.
You're talking about?
I know, it's not a large German sausage, and which of course is the evil spirit of Christmas, rather than the good spirit, which of course is Santa. And so of course we have that story. And
then we have an ass-kicking Santa in this.
Oh yes, and if you want to see Santa take on kick-ass zombie elves. That's all I'm going to say. Now, how cool is this? Santa takes on zombie elves. Now, that is something you want to watch on Christmas Eve, isn't it?
Yes, totally. This movie I thought was going to be really funny because honestly, you hear a Christmas horror story, you just think it's going to be campy and you think it's going to be funny, it's going to be silly. So honestly, there's basically there's pretty much 4 stories and there's kind of a wraparound story, and we'll get to that too. But basically, of the 3, only one is slightly funny and slightly campy, and the other ones are straight, pretty much horror. And you're like, whoa, this is a lot more serious than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Oh, yeah.
You're like, yeah.
The horror story in this, there is a scene where, which does actually link to one of our other stories. Actually, I'd forgotten that, but it's the police officer in that story is actually the male character in the Changeling story. So, sorry, I was actually quite wrong on that. That is actually the connection between those 2 stories. And those stories are actually set in this actual town where everything is meant to be happening. And the Santa section will link back to this town as well, but I can't tell you how it does.
Right,
but
exactly.
It will blow your mind when you find out what is actually going on with the Santa, the Santa thing. So I suppose let's have a look at each story. So should we start with maybe the Changeling?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
did you find this spooky? You know, this.
Oh, this one was freaky. And actually, of all the stories in this, again, there's 4 stories and kind of a wraparound story. Of all the stories in this is the only one that actually has a happy ending. So, I mean, that was cool, too, that they went against the convention of, I assumed that all the horror stories were honestly going to have a happy ending because it was Christmas themed. Nope. They were kind of like, nah, we'll give you one happy ending, but the other ones, everyone else is pretty much fucked. And you're just kind of like, dang.
Well, it's not necessarily a happy ending for a couple of the people in the Changeling story.
Yeah, but even then, it's not a straight happy ending. Exactly. It's not like a straight up happy ending because there's a lot of, a lot of bad shit that happens in this story.
Yes.
But no, this was a really cool one. And also, I like that this movie did take on a couple of conventions that you don't hear about too much, at least not in United States culture. We don't hear a lot about Krampus. We don't hear a lot about changelings. And it was cool that they incorporated these themes into this movie and still maintained a Christmas theme, but kept it super scary. Like, I thought that was cool.
I mean, I would say with the exception of the ghost story, which is pretty much universal.
Right.
And the Santa story, well, yeah, let's see, Santa taking on zombie elves. That's pretty much universal, right? But the other 2 stories, I must admit, the Krampus and the Changeling, they are very much European stories. So unless you live in Europe, or unless you live in the New World, as we'll call it, like United States, Canada, Australia, places like that, you will really have only heard of these stories through your parents or, that sort of stuff. But I suppose to get back to the Changeling, it is pretty sort of freaky. I mean, that idea that, because what we should explain is that this couple, who have a son, and the father has sort of he's meant to be a police officer and he's had a hard time. He witnessed a very horrific crime, which links back to our ghost story. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So he wasn't there for Christmas the previous year, and he's sort of lost touch a little bit with his son. He's not quite, he's not really bonding with his son as much, as he would like. And so anyway, the 3 of them try to hold this special Christmas Eve together, and they go out and they're going to cut down their own Christmas tree, their own pine tree. But they go onto private property rather than
exactly.
And what they don't realize is there's a reason why this is private property, because, well, I think I can say this. There is a certain community that live in this forest, and they have entered into this community. And of course, we know what a changeling does. A changeling takes the place of a young child. So it's going to give you the idea of what's going to happen. Once again, we can't say too much, but let's just say the Christmas Eve for this family doesn't really go the way they think it's going to go. And
oh God, no.
It gets pretty fucking violent, I will say that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say to me it actually was that spooky, but it was, some of it is difficult to watch, especially when it's realized in the house what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's when some of what you see, some of the violence actually does get quite difficult for some people, I would say, to watch.
I agree.
I
agree. Yeah. It's still a really uncommon convention in cinema over here to see children engaged in actual violence. Oftentimes they'll cut away and you won't actually see anything happen, or they will imply it. They'll let you know it happened without showing you. And in this one, there is a little bit of physical violence involving a child. And so, that can be a little hard to watch, and that adds to the shock factor. And that's just one of those boundaries that's slowly being pushed in American cinema, I think. And so they do have that in this movie. And this, just the overall concept of, first they're introducing a concept of a monster that we're not very familiar with over here, the changeling, the whole thing that you go out with your child and you come home with your child, but then you start realizing that's not really your child.
Yes.
And, I mean, it's a very scary concept overall. And there's actually been cases in history where, a child has gone missing and then the police are like, we found your child. And the parents will be like, no, this isn't my child. And they'll be like, well, this is the child we found and this child's not going to have a home. So you might as well take him and say it's your own. And that's a real life horror story in itself. And I think that's an interesting universal theme that they put in this movie, that obviously this is more of a horror supernatural aspect. But in real life, if something like that were to happen, that it's kind of like, oh, what do you do? What do you do?
Oh, yes. Yes. It's although, it as you said, this one does have a bit of a happy ending for most of it, not for everyone in it, but
it's not a super duper happy ending, but compared to the other stories, this is the only one that has like, I would say an almost satisfactory closure. Kind of like, well, at least they have that happen. It's not all bad, but yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of bloodshed. There's a lot of violence. There's some jump scares in this one. Yeah, this one. I think this one's my second favorite of the four stories.
The kid's actually quite good. He plays it pretty spooky, actually, for a child actor.
Yes.
I actually think he plays it pretty well.
Yes.
And the other thing too is that the thing I also liked about this, and once again, I'll be really careful how I say this, but what I liked about this is that a lot of these are European stories, but what I liked about it, it's set in America, so not everyone in this movie was white. Like, I really liked the idea that the family with the changeling was a black family. Because, all these Christmas movies, I hate to say this, everybody's white. Yeah,
they're Caucasian-centric, very Caucasian-centric culture, exactly.
And so I thought it was just kind of cool to put a black family, into it as well. Because, it's meant to be a representation of America. It's not meant to be, so I really liked that. I thought thumbs up to that. I thought that was well done. Now, totally. The next story, I suppose, because it links much more with the changeling, is the ghost story. Which starts on Christmas Eve the year before, where the father and husband in our changeling story is the police officer who finds two dead bodies of two school children in the local school on Christmas Eve, and they've been brutally murdered. And so, of course, this is what has horrified him, and that leads into our changeling story. But the thing is that we've then got three school kids who actually then decide that they want to go into the school on Christmas Eve the following year and make their own little documentary. And this I actually thought was the spookiest, scariest story in this of all of them. This actually made me jump several times.
Yeah, same here. This one made me jump too, quite a few times. And also it had that whole anticipation buildup constantly throughout the story, and I really wasn't sure where the story was going until the very end of it, and I'm like, okay, that's what's going on, because it was just like, oh god.
Yes.
Quite a few jump scares.
It's the story of these three kids who are locked in the basement in the bowels of this quite old school, which used to be a medical facility used for unwedded mothers to basically give birth to their children. But because of that, this is going back a very long time ago. Of course, not all the children were born alive, shall we say. So there's a lot of, energy, bad energy, in this place. And without giving too much away, let's just say that one of the students is going to be used by one of the ghosts to try to bring her dream back to life. Would that be fair?
That's well explained, very well explained. And this one, of all the Christmas-themed ones, this one could have honestly taken place anytime. This could have been a Halloween movie. This could have been a Valentine's Day story. I mean, this particular story could have taken place anytime. But they just happen to throw in, oh, by the way, it's Christmas Eve and tomorrow's Christmas kind of thing. But that also explains why they're trapped where they're at and nobody's going to find them for a while, because they're in a location where, because of the upcoming holiday, everything is shut down. Everybody has gone home. Nobody's going to come by and check for a couple of days. So in that way, the Christmas theme did help to further the story and make it a little less generic.
Yeah, most definitely. And, you know, this one, I mean, there's a lot of use of mannequins, as in real mannequins. So you never quite know if you're looking at something which is a ghost or whether something is a mannequin, because every now and again stuff will pop up, you know, in between all of this stuff. And, oh yeah, there are definitely some jumps in, you know, in this one. This is, I think, the spookiest, you know, of them all, without any doubt. But then, of course, this one also leads sideways with our Krampus story, because the girlfriend of one of the guys who is locked in the sort of the bowels of the school, she's actually off with her family to go and visit her, the aunt and uncle of the father of this family. And they're just basically going to drop in unannounced on the family because, well, pretty much the father's begging for money. The family is a very wealthy family, but they're broke and he needs money badly. And, but of course, going to visit this aunt and uncle will turn out to be not the best decision the family ever made. I think that would be a fair assessment. Because what they're actually going to find is that the evil spirit of Christmas is very much alive in their aunt and uncle.
Yeah, no, I really like this, and this was a nice introduction. Again, the whole Krampus or Krampus mythology over here in the United States is still very new. Actually, I even spoke to a family member when I was getting ready to watch this movie for the second time, and I was asking her if she'd heard of Krampus. And I mean, this is a woman who's been on the earth longer than I have, and most of the time if I ask her something, she's like, oh yeah, been there, done that. She'd never heard of Krampus, and I've noticed that's pretty common in this area at least. And I was just like, oh, this is still new mythology for us, even though it's been around forever in Europe.
Oh, well, I think that's the thing, is it, you know, especially, I mean, like, for instance, Velvet, you know, your history is American, my history is Australian. We're immigrant countries, well, with the exception of, you know, native people who, you know, obviously are the origins of those countries. But the thing is that the bulk of the population are immigrant. And so a lot of these stories and so forth, you know, have traveled with all the immigrants. But because there's such a hodgepodge of immigrants from all over the world, and because, as people grow up in new societies, a lot of these stories get lost, you know, and so the stories of things like Krampus or, you know, I mean, there's all sorts of, you know, various different creatures, especially from, you know, Scandinavian and Germanic sort of legend or from Eastern European legend, which quite often our grandparents know about, but we've lost. You know, these stories have not really travelled, you know, through to us.
Right.
I mean, I still remember being told the story when I was very young about the, I think it's the Nessie, not the thing in, you know, Loch Ness.
Not the Loch Ness monster.
No.
Not the Loch Ness monster.
Which is, you know, which is sort of like a troll-like creature where you have to feed it on Christmas night, because if you don't, it'll come and it will carry out terrible practical jokes on you and your family.
Oh my God. Well, that's a hungry motherfucker. The entire population of Australia has to feed it on Christmas.
Yeah, you know, now I must point out that that's an old Scandinavian legend, right? So the thing is that it comes down to, you know, sort of, you know, where your origins are and, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So you know, I don't think it's not surprising that so many of us haven't heard of these things. I mean, I would probably say that most people have actually heard about Krampus probably from the actual movie called Krampus.
Right, exactly.
Which is not a movie that we're actually covered on this podcast, but I'll definitely give it an honourable mention,
Okay.
As a Christmas horror. But so yeah, that's just my thoughts. I'm sort of rambling around a little bit on this one, but it's
No, it's cool. I did like this one. This one was your classic stuck in the forest, frozen, cars broken down, cell phones aren't working, and a monster is stalking you story. And this one's really well done because it's again, as we've mentioned, this is a monster that many of us are not familiar with in Western culture, and you don't really quite know what it's capable of and what's going to happen. But this one had also a couple of jump scares, and it was a fun story. I really liked this one.
Oh yeah, and it's the special effects on this one too are really good. The special effects are really good, and it has quite a good little twist at the end. But then again, all of our stories pretty much have twists at the end. They don't necessarily, or in fact, I can pretty much guarantee you they won't finish the way that you thought they were going to finish. Right. That's one thing, I can most definitely say. And then, I suppose our major story that runs through the whole thing is, of course, Santa himself, who finds out that an evil or terrible virus has infected the elves, and they're all turning into zombies. And he basically has to roam around his giant palace and workshop and all the rest of it on the North Pole, taking out all the zombie elves. And this one is... Okay, the way this finishes is actually really horrific, but the way the story runs is actually really funny. It's actually it's really funny.
Yeah, it's kind of campy. Exactly. This one's kind of like, because you're first watching it and you're kind of like, is this supposed to be funny? I know. Feel like laughing, but I'm not sure if they're trying to be serious. But then, by the end of the movie, you're like, okay, they're trying to be funny. They're trying to give you a little bit of comic relief horror style. You know, this isn't like, bust a gut funny. Again, it's that kind of just because it's outrageous. Like when the first elf becomes infected with the zombie virus and he calls Mrs. Claus a reindeer fucking whore.
Yes.
You're just like, wow, okay, this is what we're in for. And this one's probably the bloodiest of all of them.
Oh, this one is gory. Yeah. I mean, he's ripping heads off elves. He's chopping them up into pieces. He's scooping brains out. He's disemboweling them. Shouts
out to George Booza, the guy that plays Santa Claus in this. I really liked his interpretation of Santa. This was an ass-kicking Santa.
Oh yeah, this Santa does not look like the traditional Coca-Cola version of Santa. He does. He's got the big white beard and the sort of reddish suit and stuff, but he's different. He's a bit. When you look at him, he looks like an old man. He looks like a man who has seen the world. He knows it all.
Yes.
He
reminds me of a lumberjack. Like he's ready to just take an axe and chop down a tree, but he's not like in the greatest physical shape, but he has a lot of brute strength.
And you can see in his eyes that he has been alive since the eternity of time. And he knows it all. He knows it all, and so I thought the portrayal of Santa in this was, I mean, you could never portray Santa this way in a kid's film, but in an adult's film like this, I thought, he played it so well, and the fight scenes with the zombie elves are just brilliant. They are so cool.
It's a lot of fun. The ending on this is really really surprising, though. You're just like, that actually sucks. But I'm not sucks as in makes the movie bad, just like, oh, what a sad turn of events. William Shatner is in this movie. Yes, Captain Kirk. William Shatner.
Yes,
in this movie.
the Shat himself.
Honestly, I like him in this movie, but at the same time, I feel like anybody could have played his role. I don't feel like his character really added or took away from the movie. Basically, he's connected to every story in one way or other, which is also interesting. because he mentions the stuff. Like he mentions that some students died in the school, and that links you to the ghost story. And then, well, I don't want to give away a spoiler, but let's just say one of the people that's in the studio with him, that's supposed to be on the scene reporting something for the radio station, is connected to a story.
Yes,
and then also
Storm and
turns
Norman.
out,
Storm and Norman is his name,
Storm
yeah.
and Norman. And then there's also, he talks about his family at one point, and obviously he's talking about his son, I think his son and daughter-in-law and his grandkids, and that's the family in the Krampus story. So yes. he connects all the stories, but at the same time, he doesn't really add anything to the story. So the entire time he's sitting at a radio station, he's basically a DJ or a radio announcer, and they keep just touching in with him, and he's kind of just making jokes and doesn't strongly connect the stories to each other, but he kind of references them throughout. And I don't know, what did you think of his character?
Well, I suppose, he's meant to be the bonding agent, isn't he? Even though, I said at the very start of this that, there's not a lot that links them. And then once you start talking about it, you realize, oh my God, these stories are actually totally interlinked. I can't even believe I said that, but
I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing until I started thinking about it. And I was like, oh, they do actually link, like, very subtly. So this is like, I only caught it because I watched this movie twice. The first time I didn't even catch it until, like I said, I watched it the second time, and now you didn't catch it until you started analyzing the film. So it's very subtly done.
Oh, it's very well done, the way that every story does interlink the way they do it. So they do run as totally separate stories, even though they are actually connected. But look, I agree. I think anybody in a sense could have played that role. In a sense, it was almost a little bit like, let's just get William Shatner to film a whole heap of, stuff, which is in many ways sort of almost reminded me. Remember when he released his album of poetry? It's almost it's almost a little bit like that. So you just sort of say, and starring William Shatner. But it really could have been done by anybody to a degree. But I will say, and this is not giving anything away, at the very end of the film, when the credits are rolling, we actually get to see little clips of what was going on in the radio station while he was doing his stuff. And that is where William Shatner absolutely shines, because he is very good at comedy, William Shatner. Like, he is actually very good at it. He just doesn't do a lot of it. And he's really very, very funny in those just last few scenes that you actually see. But I agree, for the rest of it, look, anyone could have done it. Yeah, to be truthful. Anyone with a good voice could have done it. No offense to the great Canadian himself, William Shatner, but any actor, any actor with a good voice really could have played that role. But I still liked it, and it's always great to see, to see William Shatner in a movie, because I've always been a big fan of William Shatner. He was Captain Kirk, and you can never take that away. He's written himself into television and movie history, for that character.
Yeah, He's definitely an entertainment icon. And no, I have to admit, though, even though I say that, anybody could have played his role, he didn't really add to the movie. At the same time, he did add to the movie. He added star appeal to the movie, because originally when this popped up on my Netflix suggestions and I saw William Shatner was in it, I'm like, okay, first I saw Santa, and then I saw zombie elves, and then I saw William Shatner, and I'm like, okay, I have to see this movie. Because honestly, when I first saw that, I thought William Shatner was going to play Santa Claus killing zombies, and I'm like, okay, this I got to see.
Yes.
Okay, that's not what it turns out to be, but it's still a very, very good movie. The production value on this movie is really high. I was honestly surprised, and even the way the movie starts out with this really dramatic rendition of Carol of the Bells, but it has updated lyrics that reflect the theme of the movie. They're talking about changelings and demons and bad children getting punished. And I'm like, oh my God. And I was like, it's really well done.
Yes. Oh, look, I can't fault it. I love this movie. It's the stories are great. The acting's good. The special effects is really good. The writing is really good. there is that comic relief element. So, it doesn't, because remember, you're going to be watching this on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. So you need a little bit of relief and you get that. But at the same time, you still get, make you jump out of your seat, scary moments. You still get lots of blood and gore. And it's got the shat. It's just, I really, really, really loved it. But the other thing I will just say about this is that this movie does in a way end on a very, and don't worry, Veld, I'm not going to give the ending away because it's too important. But this movie does end, let's just say, how should I describe this? I would say there are all these stories here about, changelings, about Krampus, about zombies. We've got all this different, about ghosts. We've got all this stuff going on, all right? Now, all of this stuff in the real world is fantasy. We love to watch it, but we know it's just, these are stories passed on through tradition. It's all just fantasy. None of it is real. We just love to watch it or read about it and all the rest of it. But there's something at the ending of this film which is a real life horror story. And that is what makes the ending of this movie so you just sit there and go, holy fuck.
Yes, exactly. I agree 100% that basically it's a very sad reminder that real life horrors do happen.
Yes.
And but also what I love about this movie is that seriously, Christmas has been due for a good horror-themed Christmas movie. There has just not been a good one in forever. It's always some psycho dressed in a Santa suit, killing for no reason or a dumb reason or just he's psychotic. And so it's good to finally have a Christmas horror story that's not just one story, it's a combination of stories, and they're all good and they're all original and they're all different, and it's not just some psycho dressed up in a Santa suit killing people the entire movie.
Yes, yeah. It's it is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. And I have to admit, I hadn't seen it before until Velvet actually brought this one up. And I am so in your debt for bringing this one up, Velvet, because this was a movie now which I honestly I would like to go out and get my own copy. Now,
I was thinking this is added to your yearly Christmas movie roster, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Now, and this is definitely one for, I should say, I've got to say here, grown-ups, to watch on Christmas Eve or on Christmas night.
Yes.
It's, or just any of those times in that Christmas sort of spirit or Christmas-y time. Definitely not for kids, but yeah, look, for older teenagers, 16, 17, yeah, it's fine.
Right.
But yeah, not for the younger ones. They're definitely not. Even though we said there's some funny stuff in it, it's still far too violent, far too gory. For any of that. But it is brilliant. I just absolutely loved this one. I really did.
Yeah, no, this was fantastic. I was surprised. It came out just last year, 2015, and I'd never heard of it. I don't know how I missed this one. And thanks Netflix for suggesting it, because I was like, oh, this is awesome. Well, how did I not know about this movie?
Did this get a cinema release? Do we know? Or
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how I never heard about it. I don't know if it had a cinema release and I just totally missed it. I don't think this was a straight-to-video movie. Yeah, I don't know how I missed it. I was like, never heard about it, nothing. It happens, though, There's going to be one person out there like, you idiot, how'd you not know about this? No, man, I never even heard about it. Didn't know about it at all.
Yeah, but this is one I definitely need to say to people. If you and it's not. Please don't get me wrong. This is not a slasher movie. All right. So if you're turned off by that, it's not a slasher movie. The stuff with Santa and that's a zombie movie. All right. So think of it more in zombie terms. Don't think of it as in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre type thing. All right. So it's not a slasher movie. So so don't worry. It's just safe for just general everyday horror fans to watch. Without any doubt. And
this movie was actually renamed because this was actually Country of Origins Canada Canada. So this was filmed in Canada. Maybe that's why they were able to get William Shatner, kind of like, hey, we're making a Christmas horror theme, and this is a Canadian production, and hey, Shat, you want to be in on this? Like, so that might be why they got him in here. But whenever they actually marketed this in the United States, they actually renamed the movie. It's not called a Christmas Horror Story. If you like go pick up the DVD and buy it here, it's actually called a Holiday Horror Story, because the whole United States has what some people call the war on Christmas. Unfortunately, a lot of times Christmas, they try to make it politically correct, since not everybody is Christian, not everybody celebrates Christmas. They want to acknowledge all the other holidays and religions. So a lot of times Christmas will get kind of X'd out and they'll replace it with holiday. So if you buy this movie over here, it'll have a slipcover on it with the same artwork, everything, but it'll just say a Holiday Horror Story. But when you remove the slipcover, then you have the original artwork with a Christmas Horror Story on it. So
there you go. There you go, listeners. So if you're American, it's called a Holiday Horror Story.
Horror Story.
If for the rest of the world, it's called a Christmas Horror Story.
And on Netflix in the United States, it is called a Christmas Horror Story. So if you're looking,
there you go.
So if you're looking for it, look under both of those titles, because you just might be in one of those situations where it doesn't pop up as a Christmas Horror Story. You might find it as a Holiday Horror Story, just depending on where you're at.
See, I have to admit, I mean, for a lot of us other countries, it's like we don't get all caught up in this war on Christmas bullshit or anything like that.
I know.
We just, all we do is we say Merry Christmas, but then we say Happy Hanukkah, and we say, so what we do is, so instead of saying, lumping everything together generically, we just say what this thing is, and we say what that thing is, and everybody's happy, and it doesn't really make any difference. And if you want to celebrate Christmas, celebrate Christmas. If you're Jewish, you've got Hanukkah, and if you're whatever, you've got whatever. I don't know what Shintoists do, but whatever the equivalent sort of stuff is, so it doesn't really matter. Everyone does their own thing, and it's and that's the thing, it's like, just do your own thing, guys. Don't be worried about it. Don't be worried if it's Christmas, it's Christmas. If it's Hanukkah, it's Hanukkah. Who cares? Everybody does their own thing. That's the whole point about being a multicultural society, where we all get along, where we all think differently, but we all agree it's okay to think differently. Should be more right.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
So
well said.
That's my Christmas
So not
message.
everybody's into the whole, war on Christmas thing, but I just wanted to bring that up in case somebody's like, hey, I can't find this movie. And I'm like, are you in the United States? That might be why. So
Right.
just wanted to throw that out there. But I'm so happy that we got to watch this movie this year and review this. And I'm so glad that now I know about, because I'd never seen Santa Claus Conquers the Martians before. And that's also going to be added to my yearly playlist as well, because I got something to laugh about and I got something to give me the chills.
Oh, but we should actually say, that there are so many Christmas, if you want to call, what's the name of this show? The Cult Movie Show. There are so many cult Christmas movies. And not, yes. Some of them are family movies, but hey, that's all right. They're still cult movies. If there is a movie that you put on once a year, every single year, that's a cult movie. That's what cult means, Mm-hmm. And I would say that there are other films out there that we haven't talked about. Let's face it, Miracle on 34th Street, the original. Mm-hmm.
A Wonderful Life.
A Wonderful Life. Yes. There are so many, other cult movie sort of, Christmas movies out there. Not really any Australian ones, unfortunately. We had A Bush Christmas with Chips Rafferty, which, to be honest with you, Australia just doesn't do this shit well. It really just doesn't. No. It's absolutely shocking. I have to say that the home of the cult Christmas movie, without any doubt, is the United States and to some degree Canada. It's North America. I'll put it that way. You think about it. All the big iconic Christmas movies, they all come out of North America. Mm-hmm. But you guys just do it so well.
Yay, capitalism.
Well,
yay, marketing.
Look, there's really no reason why Europe couldn't do it as well. But then again, Europe is different because Europe doesn't celebrate Christmas exactly the same from country to country. It varies.
Right.
I mean, what happens, in the Netherlands is different to what happens in Ireland, which is different to what happens in Russia, is different to what happens in Sweden. But the thing about it, I suppose, is that in North America, it's all pretty much the same. You have Christmas Eve, which leads on to Christmas Day, and so all the movies can all be made about what is basically a 24-hour period. So it's nice and easy to come up with that sort of formula. For us Commonwealth countries, it goes on an extra 24 hours because remember we have Boxing Day as well. So our Christmases are actually 48 hours long, not 24 hours long.
Nice.
Yeah. So so I'm Australian, so I get a second day of Christmas. Yeah, Boxing Day. So, but you guys don't do Boxing Day, do you?
Not really, but look how much else. We celebrate so fucking much over here, and we have all these shopping holidays. I mean, we don't need another day. We're good. We don't need another excuse.
Yes.
We don't need another excuse to spend more money.
But it is interesting. You go north into Canada, and they do Boxing Day, which is interesting.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
I think it's I think a lot of people have often referred to that as a Commonwealth holiday. Boxing Day, that extension of Christmas for one more day. But so yeah. Anyway, I'm rambling as I always seem to do at the end of the show. So I start to go off topic and
you're having so much fun, you don't want to go.
Oh, come on! This has been the Christmas podcast. It has been the podcast of good and evil cheer.
Oh, totally! Oh my god, with all the glitch gremlins, my god.
Oh, and have we had gremlins on this show or what? Okay, well, look. At least I wasn't talking from the toilet for 2 hours this time. But we've had the telephone ring about 3 times. We've had an internet connection cut out. We have played the wrong promos. We've talked through the promos. And
then I lost it when you rated a movie 0 that you said was great, and then all of a sudden you're like 0. I'm like, what? No way.
Oh, but hey, it's Christmas, and what do they say? It's the time of miracles, so who cares? It's all fun. It's all just fun. So, so have we got anything else to say about a Christmas horror story, or
I think we said it.
I think we've said it. Yes. Oh, we haven't rated it. Sorry, I forgot. I almost forgot. Oh my goodness. All right. So, okay, who'll go first?
I'll go ahead and give mine really quick. I think it's pretty clear. I'm a fan of this. I'm adding it to my yearly Christmas movie playlist. So I think it's obvious. I'm going to give it 5 Erics out of a possible 5 Eric Roberts. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. I'll be quick because I know we're running out of time. I'm going to give it 5.
No rush.
I'm going to give it 5 Erics as well because I think it is brilliant. I can't find a fault with this. It's got everything that you would want from a Christmas horror story. It's like that title, Snakes on a Plane. Christmas Horror Story. It delivers. You get what it says. So it's perfect. I'm going to give it 5 Erics as well. I'm going to say thumbs up, Canada. This is a really good one. You did a great job, guys. Well done, Canada. This is a good one. So, all right. I think that's it. I think we've actually come to the end. So it's time for us to do some shout outs and sign off before everyone goes and eats their Christmas logs or their Christmas puddings or, what do you guys do? Drink litres and litres of eggnog.
What's the joke? Oh, fruitcake.
Fruitcake.
The joke of the fruitcake that's always the joke that like, everybody, you give fruitcake to people you don't like is the joke nowadays.
Oh,
and so
really?
You'll have like just like a wall of fruitcake and you use it to build like a coffee table, that kind of stuff. So like it's supposed to be hard as a log. I've actually had some good fruitcake in the day. I have to admit there's some good fruitcake. It's all right. It's not that bad.
Okay.
But yeah, I've had some that are hard as rock that you can use as little bricks. So you do use them as paperweights or you build coffee tables with them, that kind of thing.
Well, see,
so yeah, some eggnog and a fruitcake and hopefully you don't get a lump of coal in your stocking.
Well, no. Remember Santa's, it's the modern day PC Santa. He gives solar panels now, not coal.
I'll take one thing.
So yes, I know. That was a joke from one of my friends. Actually, thank you, Cliff. I appreciate it, Cliff. that was a good one. So it's probably time for me to go off and have a mince pie and a glass of scotch before, and you guys do the turkey thing, don't you?
Sometimes we do. I think, sometimes we do. It just depends on the family. Some have the Christmas ham.
Right.
We do that too. Yeah, if you live out in the mountains of Montana, you can go hunt the local Bigfoot, get some Bigfoot pie.
Oh, some Bigfoot pie.
It's actually shaped like a foot, and we like to garnish it with a Wolpertinger head. And I'm making this shit up, obviously. I am making this shit up,
yes,
people, just in case anybody's like, oh, wow, that's how they do it over there. No, I am joking. No, turkey and ham is pretty standard over
turkey
here.
And ham,
or ham.
Yeah, Australia is sort of half the same. I mean, I think pretty much everyone does the turkey thing, but we also, in Australia, we do lots of seafood. There's quite often there's the Christmas lobster, or something like that, or the great big, sort of fish in the middle of the table and everyone eats it. The reason is that it's like for you guys, well, it depends a bit on where you're living, because you might live in California, for argument's sake, where it's not going to get freezing cold. But for so many Americans and Europeans and all the rest of it, it's snowing, it's cold.
Right, right.
But for us, it's 40 degrees Celsius. People are going surfing today at the beach.
You're not trying to cook a fucking turkey for 10 hours in a hot oven.
No, not at all. Not at all. Many people in Australia hold Christmas outdoors, not indoors,
that sounds fun.
Yeah. So it's a very different experience, an Australian Christmas to a European sort of North American Christmas. It's a very, very different experience. So, but anyway, I'm rambling again. Let's do the shout outs and finish off. So take it away, Velvet.
Oh, I was hoping you'd hook us up this time.
Oh, am I?
I'll do it.
Oh, no. I'll do it, but I'll get them wrong. Yeah.
That's okay. I'll interject.
Okay. So, you can, of course, follow this show at Cult Movie Show on Twitter. So, of course, please follow us there. And, of course, if you do follow us, you get an automatic follow back. We're not all snobby and we don't want ratios and bullshit like that. Hey, it's Christmas. We will follow you back. No questions asked. You can also, of course, follow us on Facebook. That is The Cult Movie Show. So if you want to like us there, you can. Where else? YouTube, of course. We are on YouTube at The Cult Movie Show, so you can subscribe there. Of course, you can subscribe on iTunes. But you're probably using one of those forms to listen anyway, so that's all cool. You can, of course, follow Velvet on her Twitter page, which, of course, is OMG, it's Velvet. Yes, one of the coolest Twitter handles.
And please be 18 years or older. Please be 18 years or older, because I do post adult content. So.
You can, of course, follow me. I am, of course, Martini Superdry, and I post virtually no comment. And if it is, it'll be misspelt or it'll be a photograph of a train.
So definitely follow us on Cult Movie Show at Twitter, also on Instagram, although I've been behind on the Instagram, but I'm going to kick it up a notch coming pretty soon.
Oh, cool.
Social media is a lot of work. It's a lot of fun.
It is.
It's a lot of work.
Oh, it is. It is. And our Instagram, of course, is Cult Movie Show, isn't it? That's right.
Yes.
And of course,
also you can always tweet us. You can always tweet us at Cult Movie Show any of your film suggestions. If you have an independent film or you have a short film that you'd like us to review, feel free to tweet us, email us, or you can private message us on Twitter. You can get our email on our Twitter page. It is cultmovieshow@gmail.com.
And as we said before, of course, as Velvet has just said, if you've got any movies you want to plug, even for yourself, not just suggestions that you've got, but if it's yours, just anything, get in touch with us. Also, if you sort of enjoy listening to us and you want to join in some of the fun one week, hey, why not? Okay. Let us know if you really want to come on the show one week and talk about some movies in the totally unprofessional way that we do. Hey, let us know, and we'll, you can come on the show with us, because we want this to be a really enjoyable thing for for everybody. So, so most definitely contact us and you can come on board.
Absolutely. We actually have some people that have recently messaged us that want to come on the show. So I'm looking forward to having you guys on. And yeah, anytime, if you have your own podcast, doesn't have to be a movie podcast. If you just like talking and having conversations, basically,
Yes.
feel free to contact us. We'd love to collaborate with you guys sometime, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. And we've got a couple of celebrities lined up for 2017 as well.
Yes.
So we're really looking forward to that. So there's some great stuff to look forward to. We will, of course, be doing a New Year's Eve show, of course, in 1 week's time as well.
Right.
So please join us for that. This was, of course, podcast, oh, God, is it 25 or 26?
I think it's 25. 25? I think it's 25.
Oh, God, whatever it is, anyway.
25.
Just call it the Christmas one. And isn't that pretty cool if it's the Christmas one's number 25?
Oh, it is. It is 25. Oh, yeah, and it is the Christmas one.
Wow, how's that
like
now?
that?
There you go.
Yeah.
See, it is the time
It was
of
meant
miracles.
to be.
Yes. So of course, join us next week for the New Year's special. I've no idea what we're going to do just yet, but it's going to be a good one. And of course, shout out as always to Alana Evans. You can follow her at Alana Evans it's for, of course, providing the music for the end of the show. Is that it? Is that everything?
I think we got it. Yeah, I think we got it all covered.
Oh my God, did I ramble? Anyway, so before someone comes knocking at the door, before the phone rings again, we should probably say goodbye. Look, cheers everybody. Goodbye. Have a great Christmas, whether it's Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, wherever you are. Have a fantastic one. And, Velvet.
All right. Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Cool. So we will leave you, as always, with Alana Evans and Perfect.